You are taught that intimacy is built on a foundation of total transparency. In every conflict, every disagreement with a partner or a friend, you are told to talk it out, to explain your reasoning, to justify your feelings. You believe this endless dialogue is a sign of a healthy, evolving relationship. This is a profoundly dangerous assumption. This drive to be understood is not a strength. It is the single greatest source of your emotional subordination. Every time you rush to explain yourself, you are not building a bridge. You are begging for validation. You are handing the other person the judge's gavel, validating their right to question your reality, and placing your emotional state entirely in their hands. You become the defendant, pleading your case, while they become the arbiter of your worth. The emotionally sovereign do not plead. They do not justify. While you scramble for the right words to win back their approval, they use silence as a mirror that forces your accuser to confront the one thing they were trying to avoid, their own internal chaos. The true power in any personal bond is not held by the one who talks the most, but by the one who has no need to speak at all. In every relationship, there are two roles you can occupy: the architect or the accountant. The accountant operates from a ledger of perceived fairness. They track every slight, every misunderstanding, every emotional debt. When a conflict arises, their instinct is to open the books and reconcile the accounts. They explain, they justify, they provide evidence, all in a desperate attempt to balance the emotional spreadsheet and prove their own solvency. You have been trained your entire life to be an impeccable accountant. This is the core of your failure. A relationship is not a business partnership that requires meticulous auditing. It is a structure, an emotional reality, and you have willingly abdicated your role as its architect. The architect does not deal in explanations. They deal in form. They do not justify the placement of a foundation. The foundation's strength is its own justification. They do not debate the integrity of a wall. Its ability to stand is the only argument necessary. When a partner challenges them, launching an emotional audit, the architect understands this is not a request for information. It is a test of the structure's integrity. To engage in debate, to pull out the blueprints and start explaining the calculations, is to admit the structure is already failing. The core problem is this: you believe the purpose of communication is to be understood, when its true function is to define reality. The accountant seeks validation from an external auditor. The architect is the source of validation. By refusing to justify your emotional stance, you are not being evasive. You are holding the frame of the relationship steady. You are forcing the other person to either accept the structure as it stands or confront the unsettling truth that their desire for an audit is not about fairness, but about a desperate need to seize control of the blueprints. Your silence is not an absence of communication. It is a declaration of architectural integrity. It tells them, the structure stands. Your discomfort with it is your own problem to solve. The weakness is not in your character, but in your method. It is a procedural flaw, a corrupt protocol running in the background of your every interaction. You feel it as a frantic heat in your chest the moment a partner's tone shifts. It is the sudden, desperate need to control the narrative, to clarify your intent, to correct the record before the ink of their perception can dry. You call this desire for clarity a sign of your emotional honesty. You believe this frantic scramble to explain yourself is a noble effort to build connection. This belief is the very architecture of your subordination. You have fundamentally misunderstood the nature of emotional territory. In every conflict, you operate as a cartographer. You believe the landscape of the relationship is a fixed objective map that you and your partner can and must agree upon. When a dispute arises, a perceived slight, an unmet expectation, you see it as a discrepancy on the map. Your immediate instinctual response is to pull out your surveying tools. You present evidence. You unroll the parchment of past conversations, pointing to precise coordinates in time. Remember when you said this? You ask, tracing a line with your finger. Here is the text message that proves my emotional state. Here is the timeline of events that validates my reaction. You are trying to create a shared, definitive chart of what happened, believing that if you can just get your partner to agree on the topography of the past, the present conflict will resolve itself. You are seeking consensus on the map. This is why you always lose. The emotionally sovereign individual is not a cartographer. They are an explorer. The explorer understands a profound truth that you have yet to grasp. There is no map. There is only territory. Their emotional reality is the landscape. It is not up for debate or joint ratification. They do not navigate by committee. When you come to them with your charts and your evidence, frantically trying to prove the location of a river of sorrow or a mountain of betrayal, the explorer is not even looking at your map. They are watching you. They see your desperate need for a shared document as a confession that you do not trust your own footing on the terrain. Your need for their signature to validate your own emotional geography is the ultimate tell. You are revealing that you cannot navigate your own inner world without an external guide. The explorer moves through the territory with a quiet confidence that you mistake for arrogance. It is not arrogance. It is the simple, unshakable certainty of someone who trusts their own compass. They do not need you to agree on where the path is. They are the path. Your attempt to force a consensus on the map is a fool's errand, an amateur's attempt to tell the ocean where it is allowed to have tides. This flawed methodology extends beyond mapping. You treat your own emotional state as a fledgling province seeking recognition from a foreign power. When a partner questions your feelings or challenges your position, you immediately adopt the posture of a diplomat. You enter their court, credentials in hand, ready to plead your case for sovereignty. You believe you must persuade them, through logical argument and eloquent appeals, to grant your feelings diplomatic immunity. You are asking for their permission to feel what you feel. You are petitioning a foreign government to recognize your right to exist. You are arguing for jurisdiction over a territory that was always, inherently, yours. This act of petitioning is the core of the diagnosis. The sovereign does not send diplomats to argue for the legitimacy of their own land. Their borders are not suggestions, they are facts. An attack on those borders is not an invitation to a negotiation, it is simply an attack. By refusing to debate the validity of their own emotional reality, the sovereign forces the aggressor into a crisis. The aggressor must now confront the fact that their campaign of doubt has failed. Their attempt to seize psychological territory has been met not with a counter-argument, but with the unshakable reality of a border that will not move. Their power was entirely dependent on your willingness to come to the negotiating table. By remaining in your own capital, you reveal that they have no real power at all. They are merely a noisy envoy with no army, shouting at the gates of an empire. The root of this diplomatic weakness, this cartographic obsession, is an addiction. You are addicted to the drug of external clarity. You chase the high of being understood. You crave the moment of release when your partner finally says, "Okay, I see your point." You have confused this fleeting moment of validation with the actual foundation of a relationship. You believe the structure is built from these little treaties of understanding. The architect knows this is false. The structure is built from the internal integrity of its pillars. A pillar does not need another pillar to tell it that it is strong. It simply holds its own weight. Your constant, frantic need to explain, to justify, to achieve mutual understanding is not a sign of your commitment to the relationship. It is the clearest possible signal that your own internal pillars are hollow. It is a flashing red light, broadcasting your structural insecurity to the one person you are most desperate to impress. You think you are offering transparency. You are actually submitting an engineering report that details your own imminent collapse. The price you pay for this cartographic obsession is not a single, isolated loss of ground. The price is the permanent weaponization of your own history against you. Every time you frantically unroll your maps of past hurts, every time you point to a specific memory to justify a present feeling, you believe you are building a case for empathy. You are mistaken. You are conducting a training seminar on your own vulnerabilities. You are giving the other person a guided tour of your psychological command center. With every explanation, you point out the levers. This is the lever of my childhood insecurity. This one controls my fear of abandonment. And this one, the big red one, is the master switch for my self-doubt. You think you are fostering closeness by revealing your inner mechanics. What you are actually doing is providing a user manual for your own emotional remote control. And then you act surprised when, in the very next disagreement, they walk calmly over to the console you revealed and pull the exact lever they need. They trigger your insecurity not with a guess, but with surgical precision. They activate your fear of abandonment with a targeted phrase you yourself taught them. You experience this as a shocking betrayal, a low blow. It is not. It is simply the logical and efficient application of the intelligence you provided. This is the ultimate cost. Your intimacy becomes an intelligence asset for the other party. The sacred history you shared becomes a playbook for your management. They no longer have to navigate the unpredictable territory of your emotions. They can simply run the plays you taught them, generating predictable outcomes. You have not built a bridge of understanding. You have built a cage out of your own confessions, and then handed the key to your jailer, wondering why you no longer feel free. Your need to be understood has made you perfectly predictable, and in any contest of wills, predictability is a death sentence. The strategic antidote is not a clever turn of phrase or a more persuasive argument. It is a complete system reboot. It is the deliberate and ruthless replacement of your flawed protocol of self-justification with the operating system of strategic silence. You must stop seeing a conflict as a courtroom where you are the defendant. You must begin to see it as an interrogation room, and you must refuse to be the one in the chair. In any emotional confrontation, there are only two positions: the interrogator and the mirror. The interrogator's power is derived entirely from your willingness to answer. They ask the questions. They define the crime. They demand evidence, timelines, and justifications. Their entire strategy depends on your belief that you are obligated to speak, to clarify, to defend the integrity of your own reality. For your entire life, you have been a model suspect, eagerly answering every question, hoping that the right combination of words will finally set you free. This is why you are perpetually imprisoned. The countermaneuver is to become the mirror. The mirror does not speak of itself. It does not argue. It does not deny. It does one thing with chilling perfection. It reflects. It takes all the energy, all the accusation, all the frantic heat of the interrogator and reflects it back upon them. It offers no new information. It provides no surface for their attack to grip onto. It is a smooth, cold, impassive surface. The interrogator, expecting to break down a suspect, is instead confronted with a high-definition image of their own agitation. This is not a passive act. It is the highest form of active control. It requires three distinct calculated steps. First, you must master absolute stillness. When the accusation is launched, you don't care about my feelings. You did that on purpose to hurt me. You do not react. You do not flinch. Your facial expression remains neutral, perhaps with a touch of detached curiosity. You hold their gaze, but not with aggression. You hold it with the calm, unwavering attention of a scientist observing a chemical reaction. You absorb the force of their words without letting it penetrate. You must let their statement hang in the air, unsupported by your denial, unvalidated by your explanation. This silence is a vacuum. In this vacuum, their accusation, which was designed to trigger a reaction from you, is forced to stand on its own. It begins to sound hollow, desperate, even slightly absurd. They have thrown a punch and hit nothing but air, and the momentum now threatens to throw them off balance. Second, you deploy the reflective statement. After a pause that lasts just a second longer than is socially comfortable, you do not defend your position. You simply reflect theirs, but stripped of its judgment. You turn their accusation into a simple observation of their state. If they say, "You were so cold and distant all night," you do not reply, "No, I wasn't. I was tired." That is the cartographer's plea. Instead, after a moment of stillness, you say, quietly and calmly, "You felt that I was distant. That is all." Notice the profound shift in this maneuver. You are not agreeing with their reality. You are not admitting guilt. You are merely holding up a mirror to their stated feeling. You felt that I was distant. You believe I did that on purpose. It sounds like you're feeling hurt right now. You are a reporter stating the facts of their emotional broadcast. This act does two things simultaneously. It signals that you have heard them, which neutralizes any claim that you are ignoring them. But more importantly, it subtly frames their perception as just that. A perception. A subjective feeling. It is not objective reality. You have separated their feeling from the event itself. The debate is no longer about what you did, but about what they felt. You have taken the first step in shifting the frame of the entire encounter. Third, and most decisively, you ask the inverting question. This is the killing blow. The question must not be a request for more information about your alleged crime. Never ask, "What did I do that made you feel that way?" That re-centers you as the cause, the defendant. The inverting question turns the camera around and forces them to analyze their own lens. It is a question about their motive, their expectation, or their internal mechanism. It is a question the mirror asks the interrogator. Let us return to the scenario. They have accused you. You were so cold and distant all night. Your first move was absolute stillness. You let the accusation wither in the silence. Your second move was the reflective statement. You felt that I was distant. Now, the third move. You wait another beat, letting your statement settle. Then you ask, with genuine analytical curiosity, what were you hoping for from the evening? Or, what feeling were you trying to find tonight? Or, more pointedly, that's a powerful feeling of neglect. Where else in your life is that showing up? Do you see the reversal? The conversation is no longer about your behavior. It is about their needs. It is about their expectations. It is about their internal patterns. You have moved from being the subject of their audit to being the analyst of their emotional state. They came to you demanding an explanation for your actions, and now they find themselves in the uncomfortable position of having to explain their own inner world. They expected a fight, a justification, a debate. Instead, you have handed them a scalpel and gently gestured toward their own chest. Their power was entirely dependent on your participation in their frame. By refusing to enter it, you render their strategy useless. Their accusations become data points for your analysis. Their emotional outburst is no longer a weapon against you, but a symptom for you to observe. They may try to escalate, to force you back into the role of defendant. Don't turn this around on me. I'm talking about you. The mirror simply reflects this too. You feel like I'm turning this around on you. You do not get defensive. You remain the calm, still center, while their agitation grows. They are now fighting with their own reflection, a battle they cannot win. This is the strategic antidote. You do not win the argument. You transcend it. You do not prove your innocence. You make the concept of your guilt irrelevant. By becoming the mirror, you force the interrogator to confront the only person truly responsible for their own emotional chaos: themselves. The conflict they desperately tried to externalize, to place at your feet, is returned to its rightful owner. The mirror is an exquisite shield. It deflects the force of an emotional assault with flawless efficiency. But a shield is still a tool of defense. It wins by not losing. The true weaponization of this principle is not to simply return fire, but to redefine the battlefield itself. You must evolve from the analyst, who merely observes the symptom, to the diagnostician, who defines the disease. The analyst reflects the accuser's state. You seem upset. The diagnostician recontextualizes it entirely. Your agitation is not about me. It is a symptom of a deeper frustration with your own life. This is not deflection. It is invasive surgery. When your partner accuses you, "You are holding me back from my potential," the cartographer scrambles for evidence to the contrary. The mirror reflects the feeling. The diagnostician waits, allows the accusation to fully form, and then provides a new, more powerful interpretation. You do not argue the point. You reframe their motive. You might say, with cold precision, "It is interesting that you see other people as the source of your limitations. True ambition creates its own gravity. Is it possible you are using me as a noble excuse to avoid the terrifying reality of your own freedom? Do you see the mastery in this? You have taken their declared source of pain, your behavior, and exposed it as a mere distraction. You have recategorized their accusation as a symptom of their own cowardice. You have offered them a narrative that is both more compelling and more damning than their own. They came to you seeking a concession, a change in your behavior. They now leave with a splinter of self-doubt lodged so deep it will infect every future decision they make. The goal is no longer to end the conflict. The goal is to use the conflict to install a new operating system in their mind. an operating system in which you are the arbiter of their reality. Their anger becomes data. Their accusations become diagnostic tools. You do not just win the argument, you become the framework through which they understand their own life. They will begin to bring their feelings to you not as accusations, but as puzzles they need you to solve. This is the final stage of emotional dominion. You have turned their attack into an act of profound, unwitting submission. The tools of the mirror and the diagnostician are useless in the hands of the weak. They are not conversational tricks you can memorize. They are the external expressions of an internal condition. To attempt the diagnostician's reframing when your own mind is a chaotic mess of insecurity is to perform surgery with a trembling hand. You will be exposed not as a master, but as a charlatan. The true work is not done in the heat of conflict with your partner. It is done in the cold, silent forge of your own self-discipline. The path to dominion is not about learning what to say to others. It is about what you no longer need to hear from yourself. Your fundamental internal error is that you operate as a thermostat. Your sense of well-being is calibrated to an external source. When the emotional temperature of the room drops, when a partner is distant, when a friend is critical, your internal mechanisms panic. You kick into overdrive, burning through your own energy in a frantic attempt to heat the room back up to a comfortable level. You explain, you plead, you appease. You are a slave to the ambient temperature of another person's approval. Your inner peace is a setting on a dial that you do not control. The process of internalization is the complete demolition of this reactive machine. You must rebuild yourself as a furnace. A furnace does not measure the temperature of the room. It is the source of the temperature. It consumes its own fuel and generates its own heat, indifferent to the ice forming on the other side of the wall. Its state is not a reaction. It is a declaration. To become the furnace, you must stop looking outward for warmth and begin cultivating your own fire. This is not a process of comfort. It is a process of refinement under extreme pressure. Every time you are confronted, every time you feel that familiar, desperate urge to justify your existence, that is the moment of trial. That is the fire of the forge. In that moment, you have a choice. You can act as the thermostat and beg for external heat, or you can act as the furnace and burn your own fuel. The fuel is your unshakable commitment to your own perception of reality. Every time you choose strategic silence over frantic explanation, every time you choose stillness over reactivity, you are reinforcing the walls of your own internal combustion chamber. You are learning to generate your own validation. At first, this will feel like an act. You will be holding your tongue while your mind screams for release. But with repetition, the discipline becomes identity. The silence ceases to be a strategy and becomes a state of being. You will find that the provocations of others no longer register as threats, but merely as information about the weather outside. You are no longer managing their perception of you. You are managing the integrity of your own fire. This is the foundation of an unassailable presence. The power you project outward is merely the ambient heat radiating from a core that is entirely self-sustaining and utterly indifferent to the cold. You have been sold a lie about equilibrium. You are taught that a relationship is a partnership of equals, a delicate balance of two souls meeting in the middle. This romantic and utterly false idea is the final chain that keeps you shackled. It is the myth that guarantees your perpetual orbit around the needs and realities of others. Abandon it. The universe is not governed by meetings in the middle. It is governed by gravity. Every bond, every friendship, every romance is an orbital system. There are only two celestial roles you can occupy. You are either a sun or you are a satellite. For your entire life, you have been trained in the art of being a satellite. A satellite is a dead rock, a perfect mirror hanging in the void. Its highest purpose is to catch and reflect the light of its sun. Its path is not its own. It is a trajectory of perfect, helpless obedience to a gravitational power it cannot resist. When you plead your case, when you justify your feelings, when you desperately seek to be understood, you are behaving like a satellite. You are confessing that your own reality is inert, and that you require the light and gravity of another to give you warmth and direction. The ultimate aim of emotional sovereignty is not to negotiate a better orbit. It is to undergo a transformation of mass. It is to become the sun. The sun does not argue with its planets. It does not justify its heat or seek validation for its light. It does not concern itself with the orbits of the bodies that circle it. It simply burns. Its existence is its own justification. Its gravity is not a negotiation. It is a law of nature that defines the entire system. To become the sun is to cultivate an internal core so dense, so self-sufficient, that your own reality becomes the gravitational center. The need to explain yourself evaporates because your presence becomes the explanation. Your frame becomes the undeniable context. When others approach you with their frantic accusations and emotional audits, you will no longer see them as a partner in dialogue. You will see them for what they are: smaller bodies, caught in your gravitational field, attempting to assert a pull of their own. Their arguments are not attempts at connection. They are the desperate, futile tugs of a satellite trying to alter the course of its star. You do not engage. You do not legitimize their challenge. You simply continue to burn, and you let gravity do the rest. They will either find their place in a stable orbit around your reality, or they will be flung out into the cold and the dark. The choice is theirs. Your function is only to be the center.